Maryland men's basketball is rolling to an undefeated start. Football is going bowling down in Charlotte, and we'll take a closer look at some championship history for the Terps in the Big Ten. All that and more coming up on the Left Bench.
These guys kept fighting,
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Left Bench, presented by Terrapin Sports Central. My name is Ricky Podgorski, joined alongside Maggy McGuigan. Now, Maggie, let's not waste any time and get to talking about this electric Maryland men's basketball squad. What a game that was on Friday night.
Yeah, Ricky. Head coach Kevin Willard is off to an 8-0 start in his first season, and the Terps just took down the number 16 team in the country.
That's right, the win over Illinois is massive for the program, and it has made some national noise. Maryland opened up Big Ten play with the grudge match against number 16 Illinois in the annual Gold Rush game. And Illinois coach Brad Underwood is still searching for his first win at Xfinity Center. Terps fans came out in full force as a sea of gold flooded Xfinity, bringing the energy and the noise. The Terps and the Fighting Illini traded blows in the first half until Hakeem Hart spurred an 11-0 run, scoring 8 straight. Even with dominant runs, the Terps were unable to run away with it, and they led by 7 at the half. The Fighting Illini continued to chip away at Maryland's lead, thanks to strong performances from Coleman Hawkins and Terrence Shannon Jr. In the final minutes of the game, Kevin Willard put the ball in Jameer Young's hands, who had been dominant offensively all game. With 14 seconds left, Young launched a three and bang! Iced the game, giving the Terps a 2-possession lead and eventually the win. Young finished with the game with a season-high 24 points, along with 4 rebounds and 2 assists. Here's head coach Kevin Willard after his first Big Ten win.
I thought the crowd was off the charts. The student section was off the charts, and I thought that was a big difference for us playing. I think their physicality and their length for our first Big Ten game kind of caught us off. Not surprised, but I think we have to learn from that. But these guys kept fighting, found a way to win.
The Terps will take on the Wisconsin Badgers this Friday, looking to hold on to their undefeated season. The matchup is Maryland's second in the Big Ten and its second true road game of the year. The Badgers have already proven themselves against some of the top teams in the nation this season. Wisconsin played one of its best games offensively against Kansas last month. Senior forward Tyler Wall went on a personal scoring run, taking the reigning national champion to overtime. Kansas narrowly escaped the upset, but Wisconsin proved they could play with any team in the country. The Badgers are coming off an overtime win against state rival Marquette, looking to keep that momentum for their first Big Ten matchup of the season against the Terps. Maryland hopes to maintain its focus with 2 ranked opponents on the schedule after Wisconsin. And since this men's hoops team is kind of the talk of the town, we decided to bring in Ben Dickson, who covers the team for Testudo Times, to kind of reevaluate everything we thought of this team going into the season.
Ben, it's great to have you.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you for having me on.
Let's get right into things. Walk us through what Friday night was like. How was the environment at Xfinity Center, and how impactful was that crowd on this Maryland squad?
Yeah, Friday night was absolutely electric. I think it kind of stamped the arrival of Kevin Willard and this Maryland men's basketball program back onto the Big Ten, and I think the national scene as well. That's as good of an Xfinity Center crowd you're going to get. I know it wasn't completely sold out, but 16,000 and change, that's more than most other arenas in the country can hold. The place was bananas all night. It was a great environment, and of course helped Maryland get the win there.
Ben, Jameer Young is averaging over 15 points per game through 8 contests, and he was the one who sealed the deal against Illinois on Friday. Do you think Kevin Willard and his staff were expecting this kind of player when they signed him out of the portal?
Yeah, I don't know if they were expecting it to this extent. I think they knew he was a really good point guard, a really good guard who could both, score the ball on all 3 levels and make plays for his teammates as well. Coming over from Charlotte, where he was a really high-level, high-volume guy, who knew if it was going to transfer over to the Big Ten? And he's kind of answered any questions of whether the physicality or rise in play level kind of affected him there. So he was awesome. It was great to see him, and especially Friday night and the start as a whole, being a hometown kid from Upper Marlboro, making an impact for his home state. Arguably, the most electric player on this team right now.
And next up for Maryland, they're on the road at Wisconsin, a 6-2 Badger squad. What do the Terps have to keep up to stay undefeated and keep winning in the Big Ten?
Yeah, this is a really tough 4-game stretch. I think if you ask people before it, if Maryland goes 2-2, 3-1, would you be happy with that? I think absolutely. I think this could be their first loss. We'll see. Going to be a close game. I think somewhere between 1 point spread on either side. Wisconsin's really tough at 6-2. I think you guys mentioned how they hung around with Kansas earlier in the season. Really good group. Tyler Wall's one of the best post players in the Big Ten, despite only being 6'9". They could eat you up inside. Chucky Hepburn could chuck from 3. But if they win that game, I think all eyes turn to Sunday at the Barclays Center against Tennessee, a top 13 matchup now. But yeah, a lot on the line here, and we'll see. I mean, I think we could be looking at their first loss, but I think it'd be very impressive to start 2-0 on the road and beat a really good Wisconsin team in front of what will be a really good crowd at the Kohl Center tomorrow night.
And Maryland is 8-0 for the first time since the 2019-2020 season, a year where they won a Big Ten championship. How high is the ceiling for this squad?
I think as of right now, it is probably a Big Ten championship, and it sounds crazy to say just because they were voted 10th in the conference going to the season, and now kind of all expectations have flipped upside down, ranked second in the conference behind Purdue. I think until proven otherwise, teams like Purdue, Indiana, probably even Illinois, although they beat them, they won't play them again, which is a big help there. They'll probably be looked at in that top tier. I think Maryland's now earned the right to be in that conversation as well. I think if they can beat Wisconsin tomorrow night, that kind of proves they're right in the thick of the conversation to belong atop the Big Ten.
We really appreciate you being here, and good luck with the rest of the season covering the Terps.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
You can follow Ben on Twitter at Ben Dickson, 2_, and read his work online at Testudo Times. After Friday's Gold Rush game, there is no denying that Kevin Willard has kept his promise to bring the swag back to Maryland basketball. But that's not the only promise he's kept.
Willard made it clear that he was going to recruit local talent to Maryland, and he looks to be doing just that. Alexa Wooten is in the studio to break down everything surrounding the DMV and Maryland basketball. Alexa?
Maryland is located in one of the best basketball areas in the nation. Here's how the program has utilized that DMV talent over the years and how the new coaching staff is also utilizing it now.
Maryland men's basketball. Located in a basketball talent hub, the DMV. The DMV is loaded with basketball talent, home to basketball legends from Elgin Baylor to Kevin Durant. Basketball in the DC area is on a national platform. At the center of it all is one of the best high school basketball leagues in the country, the Washington Catholic Athletic Conference.
I'm biased. I think it's the best in the country.
Maryland has a long history of national success and a long history of their biggest stars being local guys.
Dickson coming down from Baltimore is a perfect example. He could have gone anywhere else. He chose to come here. Lonnie Baxter, a local guy as well, stayed here, and all they did was win us a national championship. So it is so important to keep the local guys at home.
Johnny Holiday has called Maryland men's basketball games since 1979, giving him a front row seat to the ups and downs of the program over the past 40-some years.
The DMV pipeline to Maryland has slowed over the past few years, but the program's new staff is focused on restoring the pipeline to its full potential.
Maryland fans always cheer on their DMV guys. From Len Bias to Melo Trimble, they love seeing their hometown heroes in Xfinity Center and have been calling for more to come. Since being named head coach of the program, Kevin Willard has answered those calls, bringing more and more DMV recruits to the Terrapins roster.
We are going to bring the swag back to Maryland basketball.
For the 2023 recruiting class, Willard and staff have already brought in 2 WCAC guys, Jamie Kaiser Jr. and Deshaun Harris-Smith. As well, Willard's staff has committed Baltimore native Jonathan Lamoth, who plays for DMV local AAU team, Team Durant. Not to mention, the new staff has opened a door that has been closed for over 20 years, DeMatha. A national powerhouse in high school basketball, the school sits right in UMD's backyard, only 7 minutes down the road. Yet, until Willard and staff brought in DeMatha alum and Charlotte transfer Jameer Young, the Terps hadn't seen a DeMatha commit in 21 years.
So, how did Willard do it? He chose the right team to lead with him.
2 of Willard's assistant coaches, David Cox and Tony Skinn, are DMV natives themselves.
You have local coaches who went to high school here. They know all the AAU guys. They know all the high school coaches. It's a major, major plus.
For many years, big programs across the nation have been poaching DMV talent right out of Maryland's backyard. Cox and Skinn aren't looking for that to be the case anymore.
If you look at the last couple of national championships, with the exception of, Baylor, You know, you've had 1 or 2 DMV kids on those national championships, so the pedigree is definitely there. And people come from all over the country to come to the DMV and come take our guys. And we're not going to get everybody. We can't recruit everybody, but the ones that we do think fit the program, we're going to recruit them as hard as we can.
This area is flooded with talent. So, you know, we're able to be around a lot of talent. But choosing the right individuals is going to be paramount to our success.
For Terrapin Sports Central, I'm Alexa Wooten.
You now know the history of DMV basketball at Maryland and how the new coaching staff is bringing it back. But let's now look at why the DMV is surging with talent. Here's Maryland, and right in its whole backyard is the WCAC, one of the best high school basketball leagues in the country. What makes this league so talented is its competitiveness. You have basketball powerhouses DeMatha, Gonzaga, Paul VI, O'Connell, St. John's, all competing against one another. That paired with the talent and unmatched coaching prepares these players to play anywhere, especially a conference like the Big Ten, which is also highly competitive and filled with an overwhelming amount of talent. And we saw firsthand Friday night how that WCAC talent translates into Big Ten play. Ricky, you mentioned Friday's Gold Rush game, and if that's not an example of DMV talent lighting up Xfinity Center, then I don't know what is. Young hits that 3 and the place erupts. It just shows how excited this fan base is about the direction of this program.
And at the rate that Jameer Young has been playing, he could be a catalyst for future DMV recruits as well.
And as long as Kevin Willard's here, DMV recruiting will be a staple for this team. Thank you, Alexa.
Thank you, guys.
When we come back, we'll talk about all women's basketball, and Nathan Schwartz will tell you about how one player is making an impact after a year-long recovery from injury.
And we'll take a look at the upcoming bowl game for Maryland football and fill you in on who earned all conference honors this season.
It's really exciting that I get to come back on the floor and playing at a high level.
There's so many rewards in life. You coming into our home was one of the greatest rewards we could have ever had.
You know, it took 20 years and I got my 3rd child who was 17 at the time.
It's so cool to watch the adult that you've become, and you really have done as much for us as you think we've done for you.
There is a road laid out for me.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
Leading down to the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
What do you think?
I know this road is there for me. If I'm really free, take me down to the river and walk.
Welcome back to the Left Bench, brought to you by Terrapin Sports Central. I'm Maggy McGuigan, that's Ricky Podgorski. And we just talked about men's basketball's impressive start to the season, but let's turn our attention to the women's team now.
Yeah, Maggie, the Terps were on an impressive winning streak until a stunning loss at home this weekend.
That's right, they just didn't look like themselves in their conference home opener on Sunday. Number 20 Maryland fell to Nebraska 90-67 in its first Big Ten game of the season, handing the program its first ever loss to the Cornhuskers. Maryland opened the game with a 4-point lead but fell behind after 2 threes from Nebraska. Both teams were tied at 16 going into the second quarter. The game stayed even halfway through the second quarter until Maryland went on a 13-0 run and the Terps took the lead into halftime. Maryland was led by Diamond Miller in the third quarter, who put up 9 after a scoreless first half, but it wasn't enough to stop the Cornhuskers' explosive offense. The Terps were unable to recover after Nebraska's 29-point third quarter. Jazz Shelley led the Cornhuskers, scoring almost a third of their total points. The junior was 6 for 10 from the 3 and finished with 29 points. Sunday's defeat was only Maryland's 6th ever Big Ten loss at home. The Terps will travel to Purdue this Thursday, hoping to get back on track.
I think sometimes we get in our own way. I mean, we're traveling and we're turning the ball over and we're crashing into people. So it looks like really good defense by Nebraska when we give away a lot of those opportunities, with 17 turnovers. So, we're continuing to evaluate. We've said this as a staff by no means is the starting lineup in place. We're still continuing to learn players, and we're still trying to get levels of consistency. 'cause, 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 'cause
The Terps will head to Purdue for their next matchup after that 23-point loss to Nebraska. The Boilermakers are 7-1 on the young season, with recent wins against Syracuse and Oklahoma State. Purdue sits at number 7 in the current Big Ten women's basketball standings, better than the Terps at number 11. Maryland will have to continue to work hard to get back in the win column on Thursday. Despite a rocky start to the season, Maryland women's basketball has had a lot of contributors on both ends of the floor, and one of them is back after suffering a brutal knee injury last season.
Nathan Schwartz explains.
Faith Massonis has been one of Maryland women's basketball's best players so far this season. Whether Massonis is making an impact on the court or leading the team from the bench, she's played a major role in the Terps' success. But before she could take a giant step forward in her senior season, she hit rock bottom. Back on January 2nd of this year, Massonis tore the ACL in her left knee, forcing her to miss the Terps' run to the Sweet 16.
It definitely took me a while for the emotions to set in of, oh, like, you're done. Like, you're really not playing. So had to figure out different ways to, be a part of the team and contribute and kind of play my role.
Part of that new role involved becoming a player's coach. Massonis has always been a vocal player, so channeling her voice in a different way helped her become a better leader.
It kind of gave me the sense of like, oh, like this is kind of like a coaching role because that's what I want to do with my future. So I kind of got a glimpse into what it's like sitting on the sideline and kind of helping those teammates work through different situations.
Once the season ended in the spring, Massonis focused solely on her recovery. Faith spent countless hours with her trainers and physical therapists as she spent the entire summer in College Park working through her rehab and reflecting on what the sport of basketball means to her.
I had a lot of time on my hands when I couldn't play basketball, and it did make me realize that my love for the game is a lot stronger than I thought it was.
The ACL recovery process can be a long one. For some, it may take a year or even longer. But for Faith, she was back in the starting lineup for the Terps just 10 months after her injury, speaking volumes to her desire to get back on the court.
For me, it's kind of mind-blowing that I made it back onto the floor and I'm starting to feel like myself again in less than a year. I don't know, just it's coming full circle, and it's really exciting that I get to come back on the floor and playing at a high level.
And not only is Faith playing at a high level, but she's become a starter and a team captain for the first time in her career.
It's awesome seeing Faith out on the court, just due to, in fact, that you just know, and we witnessed it, how much work behind the scenes went into her being where she is now for this team.
For Terrapin Sports Central, I'm Nathan Schwartz.
Faith has been a really solid player all year. It's really good to have her back this season.
I mean, 9 points in the loss to Nebraska, but the quality of her leadership is really going to need to step up and stand out for the Terps to guide them to more wins in the future.
And she isn't the only one looking to guide Maryland to a win. So is Coach Loxley. Maryland football is set to face a former ACC rival in the Duke's Mayo Bowl, their second consecutive bowl appearance. The Terps will take on NC State Wolfpack for their first time since Maryland joined the Big Ten in 2014. The matchup will take place at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina on December 30th. Maryland has not appeared in back-to-back bowl games since the 2013-2014 seasons and hasn't won 2 years in a row in 20 years. After a dominating 54-10 win over Virginia Tech in the Pinstripe Bowl last year, the Terps are looking to continue their postseason success. A win against the Wolfpack would give Maryland its first 8-win season since 2010.
I know as a coach, I'm excited because of the extra practices that come along with this opportunity, as well as us still recruiting down in that region of the country, an opportunity to take the Maryland brand down to North Carolina. But most of all, I'm happy for our players. They've earned the right. They've laid a tremendous foundation that we're excited to build upon, and our seniors to be able to go out with an opportunity to play a really great game down in Charlotte. To me, it's really what it's all about. It's rewarding this 2022 football family, as well as the seniors that have exhausted their eligibility. And we're looking forward to a great week in Charlotte, as well as playing a great game in an NFL stadium.
Since the regular season has come to a close, the Big Ten named its all-conference honorees last week. 13 Terps made the list. 6 players on offense and 7 on defense and special teams earned all Big Ten recognition. Talia Tagovailoa headlined the group, being named second team all Big Ten. Tagovailoa ended the season with 2,787 yards and 17 touchdowns. Roman Hemby, Rakim Jarrett, Corey Dyches, Jalen Duncan, and Delmar Glaze all received all Big Ten honorable mentions. Defensively, Bo Braid, Jacorian Bennett, and Jayshawn Barham headlined a group of honorable mention all Big Ten defenders. Chad Ryland was also named to the all Big Ten second team.
Maryland will be without some players in the bowl game, as a few Terps have announced they will be entering the transfer portal. Sophomore tight end C.J. Dupree joined the recent wave of players jumping ship. Dupree was a key contributor to Maryland's offense, recording 314 yards and 3 touchdowns on the season. The Terps also lost redshirt senior linebacker Ahmad McCullough, who led the nation in fumble recoveries and had 29 solo tackles this season. Offensive lineman Jaquie Green, linebackers Cameron Blount and Terrence Butler Jr., defensive back Jalen Vanderbilt, defensive lineman Zion Shockley, and tight end Weston Wolf rounded out the list of players entering the portal.
Maryland volleyball also ended its season last week, finishing with a record of 16-16. The Terps finished the year with a 3-2 win against Indiana on November 25th. Their conference record stood at 7-13, with some of their best wins coming against Purdue and Ohio State late in the season. Maryland's 7-13 Big Ten record was identical to that of 2021. The team had a record of 4-9 in the Pavilion and an away record of 8-5.
2 Terps earned Big Ten volleyball postseason honors as middle blockers Raynell Jones and Anastasia Russ were named second team All-Big Ten. Jones led the NCAA in blocks per set for the second consecutive year, making her the first in Maryland volleyball history to lead the NCAA in any statistical category. Jones proved herself to be a key part defensively throughout her career at Maryland, holding the program record for total blocks with 718. During her first season as a Terp, Russ claimed her conference recognition as she led the NCAA in total blocks, ending with 182 on the season. Russ also made program history, becoming the second Terp ever to lead the NCAA in any statistical category.
Now don't go anywhere, because when we return, Matt Noose will take a closer look at Maryland's Big Ten accomplishments in its 8.5 years in the conference.
And as always, we'll crown our Terp of the Week, Pro Terp, and Top 5 plays. Stay with us.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Welcome back once again to the Left Bench, presented by Terrapin Sports Central. I'm Ricky Podgorski here with Maggy McGuigan. Maggie, let's not waste any time getting back into it and talk about some recent Maryland history.
All right, let's do it.
Since the Terps joined the Big Ten, they have been one of the winningest teams in the entire conference across all sports.
That's right. Terrapin Sports Central's Matthew Noose joins us to break down Maryland's Big Ten dominance. Matt?
That's right, guys. Maryland hasn't been in the conference for even 10 seasons, yet they're already climbing the ranks to become one of the Big Ten's elite. Maryland left the ACC in 2014 to join the Big Ten along with Rutgers, and with the move came great success for the Terps. Maryland ranks 3rd out of the 14 member schools, plus Johns Hopkins and Notre Dame, with 47 Big Ten championships since arriving to the conference. Only Michigan and Ohio State have more. With the Terps being so close to Big Ten royalty like those two schools, one spot the Terps take a back seat in is football and men's basketball. As Coach Mike Loxley and the Terps are still working towards Maryland's first ever Big Ten title in football, the Wolverines just went back-to-back with football titles following their win over Purdue this past weekend. Quarterback J.J. McCarthy threw for 3 touchdowns, and running back Donovan Edwards added 1 or more on the ground to guide the Wolverines to their 66th Big Ten championship since 2014. And we can't mention Big Ten football without talking about the Buckeyes. Since Maryland joined the conference, Ohio State has been crowned Big Ten football champions 5 times, including a stretch of 4 consecutive titles from 2017 to 2020. The Terps have found little success in men's basketball, with just a regular season title in 2020 led by Anthony Cowan Jr. and Jalen Smith. But Maryland has been dominant on the women's side. Brenda Fries and company have collected 11 Big Ten titles, sweeping both the regular season and tournament titles in 5 separate seasons since joining the conference. The state of Maryland is called the lacrosse capital of the world, and both Maryland lacrosse programs have the hardware to back that up. The 2 storied programs have combined for 20 Big Ten championships. Be the best is the slogan preached by the coaching staff for Maryland men's lacrosse, and that message is well received by the Hardshells. After the conference move, Coach John Tillman has brought home 10 Big Ten titles and 2 national championships at College Park, led by Tewaaraton winners Matt Rambo, Jared Bernhardt, and Logan Wisnauskas. The Terps are the only Big Ten program to win an NCAA title since making the move in 2014. The Kathy Reese-led women's lacrosse team have also reached similar heights. The Terps have brought home 10 Big Ten titles and 3 NCAA championships since 2014, the most for any program in the country during that span. Lastly, it is worth mentioning how efficient the Terps have been since making the move to the Big Ten. Among Maryland's 20 athletic programs, its 47 Big Ten titles is good enough for second in the Big Ten in terms of champions per programs offered. The Terps have averaged 2.35 championships per programs offered, only falling behind Michigan. The Wolverines' conference high 66 titles per their 27 athletic programs is good for an average of 2.44. Now, guys, with the start that the men's basketball team is having with Kevin Willard, could we see another championship, maybe another Big Ten title with that men's program?
I mean, Willard's really going to have to keep his foot on the pedal to even reach those championship aspirations, but it's definitely on the table.
All of his star players are really going to have to buy in to get this championship. Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, anytime.
Speaking of star players, it's now time to hand out some hardware of our own, starting with our Terp of the Week. This week, it's a player who solidified the massive win over Illinois to keep Maryland men's basketball undefeated, and that's Jahmir Young. Maryland held on to a narrow 1-point lead in the final seconds of their Big Ten opener on Friday night. But with 14 seconds on the clock, it was Young who sunk a vital 3-point shot that gave the Terps their victory. Young put up 24 points on the night and has come up big for his team throughout its 8-0 start. Congrats to Jahmir on being crowned our Terp of the Week.
And our pro Terp is shining from nearly 5,000 miles away, but he is absolutely balling. Former men's basketball star Fats Russell is scorching hot through 8 games with KK Mornar Bar of the Montenegrin Basketball League. He's averaging 28.7 points per game as a rookie. In his first 2 appearances, the 5'11" guard notched a combined 88 points. Congrats to Fats for tearing it up overseas and being named our Pro Terp. And now the time has come to give you our final top 5 plays of 2022.
Okay, get us going, Ricky.
All right, at number 5, we have a double down deny from Raynell Jones and Layla Ricks. The duo feasted and combined for 16 blocks in their last game of the season at Indiana.
At number 4 is Hakeem Hart Heat Check. Hart had 4 of his first 5 threes in the first half. That's right, 4 threes in a half. Hart scored 17 points in the upset.
And we're sticking right here against Illinois for number 3 with this Dante Scott take. Scott goes full court, shakes Coleman Hawkins, then spins around him again for the finish. I'm sorry, Mr. Hawkins, but you seem a little lost in the sauce after Dante Scott puts you in the spin cycle.
Surprise, surprise for our number 2 play. We're sticking here against Illinois for the Jahmir Young dagger. Young pulled up from behind the arc and cashes in the clutch shot to bring home the victory over Illinois. Jahmir Young is a certified dog.
And for our final top play of 2022, it is none other than Diamond Miller, who rattles home a buzzer-beating shot for the win and silences the crowd. Even Kevin Durant liked Miller's shot, tweeting about the Dirk Nowitzki-like fade. Congrats to Diamond Miller on taking home our top play. Before we say goodbye today, we'd like to say goodbye to one of our favorite guests on the show, Mr. Logan Hill. Logan will be graduating later this month, and we're so proud and thankful for his contributions to the left bench and Terrapin Sports Central as a whole. So we put together a little montage for Low Goat Hill to say thank you.
Logan, it's been an absolute blast having you guys on. Brandon, great job on the debut. Logan, you've been here before. Nothing different for you, but thank you guys so much for coming on. This was fantastic.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes,
guys.
And make sure to be on the lookout for Brandon and Logan.
Goodbye, my lover. Goodbye, my friend. You have been the one. You have been the one for me. Goodbye, my lover. Goodbye, my friend. You have been the one. You have been the one for me.
We just want to say thank you one more time, Logan. You've made our lives a whole lot happier and a whole lot easier. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
You truly are one of a kind, and we're going to miss you.
Well, that will do it not only for this edition of The Left Bench, but for this year. Thanks for watching, and we can't wait to be back with you in 2023.
Be sure to keep up with all Terrapin Sports Central's coverage on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and online at terrapinsportscentral.com.
We'll see you next year.